So, anybody want to speak? You don't have to respond to what I just said. I'm always open to hearing what your experience was this week, where you're seeing faith, where you're discerning faith in difficulties, all of those sorts of things. So, Victor, go ahead and unmute.
Hi, thank you. In the last couple of days, I've just been trying to do everything again to reach metta or reach a more calmer state, and there's a heart block. But I just dropped faith. I dropped my efforting to have faith because I was really curious what was behind that. And a calmer mind kind of came in. But I'm really what
do you make of that? That experience?
We're just allowing
the effort to have faith
of hopelessness. It was like allowing a little bit of hopelessness and to heck with it all, despair in. Just a portion for a little time without always trying to push against it.
Right. Seeing it as the enemy and changing and just letting it be there.
I don't have much more to say about that, but it just I wanted to just ask about that kind of climax of your talk for me, which was the no self discovery. You're sitting.
By the way, the example you just gave is about no self. Do you want to know what I hear in it?
Yeah.
So often when we're like trying, the word trying is really interesting because it's almost always an egoic word. Like trying to have faith, something trying to control our experience, something thinking it's got to be the way I want it. We're selfing all over the experience. And when that moment of just allowing happens, some of that subsides. It's maybe not kind of the grand moment of non-self, but it's a little moment of non-self, a little moment of like, it's just, okay, that was a little taste of non-self. So go ahead, Victor. I interrupted you just to.
No, I hear you.
A trust in something beyond your trying.
I was listening to some Dzogchen teachings, which just say like, let the thought liberate itself, or let the mind fall open. After a period of metta, just try to remember many moments in my life that were pleasurable or good, which there seems to be like a fair bit of resistance to that. But you were talking about you're watching thoughts come on their own, and you're really getting that they're just coming on their own, uninvited.
Yeah.
And that must have been a pretty deep state, because I have, as you know, quite a few thoughts that are intrusive, and some that are really like insulting and painful and have like abandonment sort of themes or whatever.
Right.
And here they come.
Yeah.
And see them causing some havoc and fear. And then I talk to the thought like, holy crap. Or else I go to like, okay, like, don't want that one. Or I want to watch that thought dissolve. But that's kind of coming in late in the game. I mean, God knows that they're uninvited.
Yeah.
They're uninvited. But I'm not like able to like touch that moment where they pop up. Oh, that never came to the party. They never got an invitation. Like that moment. I don't that must be a very uh, clear background mind, or a very quick mind to catch them arising. And then you said that you notice that, well, mindfulness itself arises kind of by itself without the egoic impulse or call or push or anything. Yeah.
So the invitation is to do less when you meditate. There is an I in what you're saying who wants to engineer an experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those pesky little thoughts,
engineering
they just
metta
keep
is an engineering job.
Yeah, metta is doing that. It is an engineering job. But those pesky little thoughts, they just keep insulting you. And so rather than have a self that kind of rises up and says, get out of here, kind of thing, just see them arise. If you it's a little hard to describe.
I can do that. I can watch them arise and say, wow, that was a whammy. That was painful.
Just
and
conditioning,
then, like I said, my mind goes
arising and passing.
I want to watch it dissolve. I want to get to the watching dissolve. I don't want to be embellishing it in any way.
Good. So just watch it dissolve. But the understanding that I pointed to, it isn't an intellectual understanding. It's something much deeper that just begins to watch thoughts. They're uninvited. They just arise and they pass away when you notice them. And that happens over and over. Like a stream, just like a stream flowing. And if there's a sense of I that kind of gets in the stream and says, no, I want this stream to go this way, take it out this channel, and so forth. And I have to admit, a lot of Buddhist practices like that. And it can be helpful, like doing loving kindness meditation can be helpful, where you're digging out a channel so the mind goes more towards goodwill and not towards ill will. There's a lot of Buddhist practice like that. It's not practice that's going to lead you to a deep understanding of no self. It's not the practice that does that. It's the practice of just noticing experience moment to moment. That's what will lead to that insight. Just whatever arises, noticing it. And doing less and less until suddenly you realize there's no doer. There's no doer needed here at all, actually. And intelligence can actually do it all. Not zombie state. We're not talking about everything being mechanical. There's great intelligence that arises in each moment. But there doesn't have to be a me. Now, those of you in the audience who are glazing over, what is he talking about? That's a pretty typical response to hearing the no self teaching. Okay. And it's certainly the experience that I had, but only for maybe the first 15 years of my practice, But that's the practice that leads to it. And it only took a moment. And I can't say that it was a really deep moment that broke the spell. I can't exactly say what it was that finally just broke that spell and allowed something else to just shift. And, to be honest, that shift, that realization in its purity, it kind of shocked me. It went on for 3 weeks of just not seeing any self. And then it started to come back together. And now my experience is probably pretty normal to what you all experience. terms of what's going on here. There is definitely a mark heart self that appears to be in charge of things. However, having had that experience once, something permanently is different. I just can't buy into this the same way. I can't see what's happening the same way. Anyway, Victor, is that helping? Is that answering?
No, that's great. I just wanted to expand that a little bit. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sad that you're back to like near normal consciousness.
Near normal consciousness, yes. The story's more complicated than that, but I just said that. Make it simple. Near normal consciousness. All right, Tony, jump in there.
Thanks for sharing about your no self experience, Mark. It's very interesting to me.
Thank you. You're welcome. I guess that's what I'm supposed to say, isn't it?
That's normal, yeah.
Yeah, that's normal.
The reason that I practice is because I want to experience something like this.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that I guess the phrase no self is, I don't feel as though my eyes glaze over, but I feel creeped out by it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really disturbing sort of phrase, and it's like so deeply a part of Buddhism.
It is.
Like, and so much of Buddhism, I'm 100%. It's like, yeah, it's just very clear instructions about how to suffer less and be more loving and at peace.
And it's also the thing that distinguishes Buddhism from most versions of Hinduism, and Advaita and there, and it could be entirely rhetorical. They could have figured out this works better for people. Let's talk about it this way. It could be a purely verbal thing, but they talk about letting go of a small s self to achieve a capital S self,
You see, that sounds nice. I like
Doesn't that sound nice?
That sounds good.
I give up this miserable, suffering self to realize that I'm God and I'm everything, and I get this great big self in return. That sounds really good.
I'm into that.
Yeah.
That sounds groovy, but like the no self thing.
The no self thing, it does. It's a little creepy.
Creepy. I've been reading some of the suttas, and I have been working through one. What is it called? The Greater Destruction of Craving Discourse, I think it's called.
Yeah, what a great name.
It's like very emphatic about why no self is crucial, and like we're not talking about, you have a soul that gets reincarnated, and it kind of takes this character who's a fisherman's son or something, who keeps saying like, yeah, we got souls. I think this is what the Buddha said. It's great. And the Buddha's like, no, definitely never said that. Don't say that. Don't be like this guy. So it's like, it's hard to get around. I keep coming because I love so much about this tradition, but there's this big central part of it, like you're talking about, that's like kind of creepy. And different traditions describe it in different ways that are less creepy sounding to me. So I kind of pull from them, and I replace the no self stuff with words that reassure me.
Yeah, emptiness is kind of where the Mahayana tradition went. They talk about emptiness, which can also be creepy to people. Especially if they understand it wrongly as like the kind of emptiness people feel when they're depressed, which it clearly does not mean. It refers to the emptiness of consciousness, refers to the way that awareness has no form, it's completely empty. But that's kind of where they go rhetorically, is with emptiness.
So do you think it's like kind of a rhetorical thing, or and there's different ways to talk about this that are equally accurate and right? Or it sounds like no self is a pretty central part of the experience that you really value.
It is. And yet, I suspect that realized beings have come to realization, and they have formulated it differently than the Buddha did. That's completely possible. And that it might just be my particular karma, if I can use that word, to realize it by bumping my head up against, or my ego up against, this word that I couldn't figure out what the world had meant. So I guess that's maybe not, I could definitely imagine certain Buddhist scholars I know insisting, no, it has to be not self. You have to have that, but I'm not one of them. I actually think that one could arrive and use different words.
Okay.
It's something occurs to me to also say, it actually helped me to understand the word God, this not self experience. And I realized, this maybe sounds crazy, God has no self either. And it made me really happy to realize that there's no self, which is why there's no separation between what we experience and God, if we want to use that word. Or if we want to use the word nature, there's absolutely nothing in us that's not nature. Nothing that's not nature expressing itself. And the whole idea that there's somebody that owns his or her experience is a delusion. So there you go, Tony.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's okay sometimes for teaching to creep you out.
Thank you for offering less creepy alternatives.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. All right, Catalina.
Hi. Just adding to the talk about the sharing about the not self. What I feel a lot is about the emptiness, but that emptiness that is not emptiness, but is space, spacious. That is a space to be able to, to be able to receive reality, to receive energy, receive, like be so open and not with the mind judging, cataloging, and making square things, but it's like a mind so open that is able to really comprehend, understand, and absorb a reality. So of course, there cannot be a self there. They cannot be Catalina with all these conditions and about all this education and about all this judgment. Because then, if that is that, then you are not being able to see things as it is. Because then we will be having is my condition and my teeny little education, little teeny mind understanding something that is beyond understanding. But at the moment that I am able to arrive to that place of emptiness, or that place of spacious, big spacious, then receiving what is there is 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 is, is unique. Is unique. So and that's the thing. I think for me, if I would like to be liberator about suffering, the more I try to be a self, mark this little square of mine is a property, like is like all this judgment, all these conditions, then of course I'm going to suffer, because things are not things are as they are, not as I understand it. They are not accommodating to my education, my being a woman, my being of this century, So I that's what I was thinking. And it's hard because we are so human, and we live in this level of reality that I have to resolve regular problems, and for instance, right now I have to resolve a problem, and it's making me crazy, and I'm trying to have faith and trust that it will resolve by itself. And I feel like I have the wish to standing like in the precipicio, in the like in the you are here and you see the lower right there, so to say like, oh, I'm going to trust that the things are going to work and they are going to resolve by themselves without me pushing, suffering, and everything. So it's a good experiment, but very, very scary. So that is my sharing, that I'm trying to say, okay, let me see if I am able to trust that things are going to resolve. And for 23 years that I have been managing this company, it has resolved, but it creates a lot of suffering, wanting things to go certain way. And now I want to have that resolved now. So that's my sharing.
All right. Well, thank you. I thank you for the first half of that, where you talked about your own experience of not self as receiving. I think that's a really helpful way to frame what I'm talking about in a way that's very accessible to people. So thank you for that. And and then you shared your aspiration here. And just one small thing is that word trying. I am trying to blah, 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 blah. Be mindful of that, because it's what it really means is I'm resisting. In my experience, the word trying is the egoic mind pretending when in fact it's resisting. Okay. And it can be kind of humorous when you catch yourself that way. And all you have to do actually is notice the resistance, even receive the resistance that's in you, the fear or whatever. Just let it be there. And to play with that sense of trying. It's really, really valuable. So keep practicing, keep noticing your experience around faith in all different forms. And maybe this week also notice the yes, no in you when it comes time to make a choice. See if you can get the visceral sense of what's a yes and what's a no. And talk about it when we come back. Okay? Be well.